All good, all good. Again, sorry for any kind of drama here, but again, I'm okay with being a little bit transparent about some of the things that are going on, and thankfully we did confirm that, of course, it was someone trying to pretend to be a Polish caster. So today we've had someone try to pretend to be the Polish caster and the Brazilian caster. Shaking my head.
Yeah, somebody tried to impersonate Cosmos, but then we typed in "Fala Galera," and there was no response. So that's how we knew that was an imposter.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you suss them out, Papi. Among Us, even.
Among Us. We get to our first semi-final match of the evening. We're over here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the top right-hand corner. We of course have our red Protoss player coming down from the land of Korea. He is currently teamless, representing himself and his massive chin. He is Classic.
This morning in the bottom left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing his new team, Mystery Gaming. It is RagnaroK. Now we can focus on casting StarCraft.
Oh, is that what we were focusing on? My focus was gone, Papi.
Oh, good, Papi. It's all good.
Long before we started the broadcast, my focus was gone.
Well, we're almost there,
Long
Papi.
before I started casting on this channel years ago, my focus was gone.
Bear with me, Yaku, bear with me. We're here in our first semifinals of the night, and again, I also wanted to get, because of everything that was happening, I wasn't even able to comment on Gumiho's run earlier, and he had a really impressive showing himself. Alas, was not able to overcome the might that is our Korean Zerg player RagnaroK, so he does bow out from the tournament, and now RagnaroK going up against the Hero Slayer himself.
Yeah. The Hero Slayer, both of these players actually for the longest time were kind of the ace players of Alpha X, not just the WTL, but in pretty much everything, really. But now they are going up against each other, and we'll see if they remember how each other plays, how one another plays.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really curious, especially because like this is gonna be an interesting matchup because Classic has been very aggressive in PvZ recently. Like he's been very in your face and the kind of player to overwhelm the Zerg. But at the same time, RagnaroK is also likewise a very aggressive Zerg player as well, and he likes to dictate the pace of the game. We saw it against Rebellion. We saw RagnaroK is more than willing to cut workers at 66 and make nothing but Lingbane Roach Ravager to try to end the game as well. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting kind of clash of styles.
Yeah. Yeah, but for the time being, we are seeing very standard play coming out from both of our players. RagnaroK going for a little bit of an earlier third, but other than that, still sticking to just Lings for the time being, not really making any big tech moves. Classic, on the other hand, going for a safe and standard Oracle first.
Oh, exactly. So Stargate opener coming up from Classic, very standard as you were saying, but it's the follow-up that we're going to be keeping an eye on. From here, Classic is going to be getting a third Nexus, of course, but is he going to be going for a Forge for +1? Is he going to be going for a stronger Blink timing or even Glaive Adepts? Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking to determine. That is a lot of Lings coming out from RagnaroK.
Oh, and they may have just been spotted by the Oracle. The Oracle does dip into the natural base. He's going to be taking a lot of hits, though, and, just barely survives.
One more volley and it would have gone down, but yeah, not today with this Oracle. It does completely run out of energy, though, so if it gets recalled, it's not really going to be able to provide much defense against this onslaught of Lings. Thankfully, there is a secondary Oracle that pops out.
Yeah, and
we'll be able to clean up a lot.
Yeah, this is a good start here for Classic. RagnaroK invested so much into these Lings, hoping to maybe catch Classic moving out with his Oracles, but this is why this is such a standard opener in PvZ nowadays. Going for the Stargate into Oracles means you are safe against any kind of early game Ling harass like this.
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how RagnaroK chooses to respond from here. He's already in a decent economic position with 3 hatcheries here. He can, yeah, and he is droning up quite a bit. But for now, like you were saying, Classic has the complete map control. He's not going for a Glaive Adept build, like we saw from Rebellion. He is continuing to do something very, very standard, which is a Blink follow-up. And it will allow RagnaroK to have a little bit of time to get his bearings and to get ready for round 2.
Oh, exactly. And round 2 is going to be upon us quite shortly because RagnaroK is going to be avoiding that 4th base. He's making a lot of lings once again. He threw down a Bailey Nest. He wants to be the aggressor. He wants to move out across map to catch these adepts and maybe do more than just that.
Oh.
Yeah, but he runs into the adept, so he does lose a lot of those lings. He's going for that counter attack, and there's no shield battery at this 3rd base. Classic is looking a little bit exposed here.
Yeah, very exposed. He does have a little bit of SimCity here to work with, but the lings are able to go around the gas geyser and will get a full surround on top of this army. Classic trying to drone drill a little bit, a probe drill a little bit, but he does get slightly delayed. He's not losing too many of his workers just yet, and will be able to clean this up, but he also loses the majority of his gateway army. He also was forced to turn around with these oracles. All of a sudden, RagnaroK takes full control of the map.
Yeah, exactly. He reset the adept count, he reset the stalker count as well. Classic punished for not having any shield batteries and having his oracles out on the map. He's throwing down some side defense now, but RagnaroK, he is back with a vengeance. He has rebuilt his ling army. He is looking for another way in, and once again, this 3rd base is looking vulnerable. Classic is kind of wedging his army though behind the gas geyser, so the positioning here is looking quite good. But RagnaroK, he doesn't care. He's going in. Oh,
yeah, he doesn't care. Until those stalkers blink back, yeah. Doesn't care until he does.
There you go. Behind this, RagnaroK is finally getting his 4th base up and running. This is late. We can see in the worker count that RagnaroK, his economy isn't looking too good, and it's because he's been investing so much into these lings, so he's kind of putting pressure on himself to find some damage.
Yeah, and to be honest, he's already containing Classic on 3 bases, but like you said, we'll see how long that can really only go so far in a ZVP.
Well, it really can.
Yeah. RagnaroK now is just trying to get into his mid game, getting his upgrades in order. Both Roach and Banelink speed are coming down, but Classic, even though he's only on 3 bases, is still investing into double robo production. 2 Colossus are on the way. And that's going to be a massive, step up from this purely stalker army coming out from Classic.
Yeah, and honestly, Classic is trading oh so well. I don't think he lost a single stalker in that fight. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. A couple of stalkers are finally going down, but we are just trading so many lings for this, and now the stalkers are getting on top of some of these roaches. Again, Classic isn't looking to break through and kill the base or anything like that. He's just looking to trade efficiently, more efficiently than his opponent, and get into those Colossi.
Such a quick reaction and such a quick warp in as well comes down here from Classic. He loses a couple of pylons, which will be supply blocking him, but he doesn't take a single lick of damage on these probes. And that's super important because, once again, Classic's only on 3 bases. He hasn't had the ability to expand to get a 4th base just yet. So it's that much more important for him to make sure that all of his bases are saturated at all times.
Yeah, exactly, and oh boy, we'll see how this does turn out here because this Colossus count is getting insane. We have 4 Colossi now. It's it is getting out of hand at this point. Classic is going across the map, he's pushing out as we speak, and RagnaroK, does he have an army to really contest against this? He's got 4 Ravagers, his lings are going for a counterattack.
Yeah, that's probably the best he can really do in this situation. There's no way you can fight 4 Colossus with lings, especially if you try to go for a surround. Those looks are just gonna get wiped out immediately.
Oh.
He does force a recall here from Classic.
Wow, that's actually pretty important. Once again, Classic, no cannons or shield where are the cannons and shield batteries? As a result, he has to turn back around, and this is giving RagnaroK so much breathing room. He was honestly in a lot of trouble going up against all those Colossi. Now he's going to be able to rebuild, remax, and get ready for the next push.
And he is getting... well, he is getting ready, but he still has a pretty low-tech army coming his way. Lingbane, Roach Ravager is a fairly versatile unit composition, but it is one that gets countered very, very hard by the sheer presence of these Colossus. Finally, RagnaroK is able to break through at this third base location, is able to clear out quite a lot of workers, actually. But what about his defense back home? Colossus are split up, which is actually a little bit of a misstep here from Classic.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We do see Lingbane just rolling on forward here. The Colossi are surviving, and it looks like the Colossi are going to be able to push this back. Once again, only one went down.
Yeah, some great juggling coming out from Classic with that Warp Prism and with on top of those Colossus. Classic loses a lot of workers back home, but he gets a base, so all works out in the end. One more Colossus will go down. Warp Prism, unfortunately, very far away. Oh, but that very low health Colossus will get saved, and there's still plenty of Stalkers here to act as a buffer.
Yeah, exactly. The Colossi, they reign supreme. The Biles will be missing. We blink on forward as well. We shut down the Roach Ravager army once again. RagnaroK is trying to rebuild desperately. Like, Classic's economy isn't looking too great after that Ling counterattack. But GG gets called. He cannot be stopped. Classic takes game number 1.
You don't need an economy if your Colossus are just raining hell from above. That was... yeah, a game that really could have gone terribly there for Classic. He was on 3 bases for just the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, he kind of correctly identified, hey, if I'm not going to be able to expand, I might as well just get a really powerful army and just go across the map with a very strong timing attack. He wasn't all in by any means towards the end of the game. He was working on getting a 4th base, but he might as well have been all in at that point.
Mm-hmm. As we are all diving into this, and it looks like the upper semifinals has concluded. We are going to be joined by both Steadfast and Dave Testa. Oh boy, we are running out of games.
Oh, yeah, we have 1 series after this. There's 2 games maximum left in this semifinals, and then we jump straight into our grand finals, which will be... quickly refresh the bracket over here. Okay, it'll take a little while for it to update.
Yeah, exactly. We're still waiting for those updates, but again, that first game was insane. As you were saying, Classic was very committed with his push. There was so much onus on him because his 4th base was so delayed or non-existent. He was down by 20 workers. Ooh, but his control, his micro, his juggling was amazing.
Oh, it's like a clown. No, wait, but good. You know what I mean? As we get to game number 2 here of our semifinals, we over here on Gresvan. We're in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have our red Protoss player coming out from the land of Korea, representing himself as he is currently teamless, but he doesn't need a team. Well, actually, no, it'd be great if he has a team. What am I trying to say here? He is Classic.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing his brand new team, Mystery Gaming. It is RagnaroK. Here we go, and we do see RagnaroK going for a pretty standard opener. Hatch Gas Pool forced to take the unnatural natural. Oh, but I wonder how things will differ here in the second game. We saw Classic kind of flex his control, flex his micro, flex his skill, but at the same time, we also saw Classic being pretty greedy. Multiple times that game, RagnaroK was able to go for these counterattacks, these Ling run-bys, and it felt like he was on the cusp of doing like economic damage and potentially game-ending damage.
Yeah, I still remember that one moment where Banelings crashed into pylons and stalkers, where if Classic was even just 1 second too late to react, and he would have gotten on top of the entire mineral line. He would have forced Classic to go all in, and at that point, you know, despite Classic having, I think, 3 or 4 Colossus, he wouldn't have been able to reinforce. We saw right towards the end of game number 1 how desperately Classic had to warp in another round of Stalkers just to make sure that his Colossus were able to have a little bit of a buffer towards the end there. If he didn't have the economy to keep that going, I really think we would have been getting into this with RagnaroK having the advantage instead.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, because we've been casting a lot of Classic recently in the KSL, in ESL Asia, in ESL Americas, and in Kung Fu Cup, in KFC. Beautiful. But we've been seeing a lot of him, and specifically in these PvZs, whenever he's going for this like aggressive style, it doesn't have to be the same build, but in general, when he's in the face of his opponent, he usually cuts a lot of corners defensively, and he usually does leave his third base exposed, his fourth base exposed, or usually takes a very fast fourth behind his push as well. And it can be looking a little bit vulnerable, and we'll see if RagnaroK is able to catch onto that and maybe try and punish that in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is why it's really, really important, and why it's even more important, and why it's really, really impressive coming out from Classic to be able to have those quick reactions, to just look at a couple of dots moving across the minimap and say, I need to warp in now back at home. Because he is playing on that knife's edge. He does want to cut corners. He does want to make sure that every single mineral and every single piece of gas that he's spending is invested into army units and not static defense back home. Really good use of his adept, able to take out 3 drones before going down. Already, Classic's getting a bit of momentum in this game.
There we go. 5 drones in total now. The initial 3 to the Adepts, another 2 from the Oracle as well. So very nice damage here behind this. We have our third Nexus on the way. Again, Classic did go for a standard Stargate opener. Is going for a Twilight Council follow-up, but we'll keep an eye on things. We'll see if he does go for that Forge or if he decides to skip it.
Yeah, Classic not really feeling any pressure to switch up his play just yet, and I can't say I blame him.
Yeah.
Number 1, as scrappy as game number 1 was, he absolutely won that off the back of his unit composition and identifying what tech to go for. 1 Oracle goes down, but he gets another 3 drones here, Classic does.
Yeah, he gets 3 drones. He's going to be able to clean up some of this creep. We can see that it is going to be Blink, not +1. Sorry, Blink, not Glaives, which I was kind of worried that it was going to be. But again, there is no Forge, so there's no longevity to this build currently. He's going for a bit of a gateway explosion as well. It looks like Classic may be looking to get into the face of RagnaroK sooner rather than later.
And even then, later is gonna happen pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be a Blink timing here. No upgrades are going to be available for Classic, but he's going to have a mass amount of Stalkers to work with. And he's designed, or this is designed to try to catch RagnaroK off guard, try to catch him droning, try to catch him in the middle of focusing on his economy.
Yeah, that's what Classic's going to be hoping for anyway, as RagnaroK is still being very diligent with his Ling run-bys. He's still being very active on the map. He hasn't been able to sneak an Overlord into the main base, though, which is definitely worrisome. Great bait out coming out here from RagnaroK. Trapping a couple of those Adepts into a surround, but unfortunately the rest of Classic's army wasn't too far behind, so that was the biggest deals here.
Yeah, he was able to clean up the majority of those Lings. Meanwhile, the gateway explosion is upon us. We got 5 gates in the main, another 2 here at the natural, 7 gates in total, and now Classic is going to be pushing out. Blink is now done, and he's going to be warping in back at home to reinforce, but his push is still designed to do some damage to break the defenses of RagnaroK.
Yeah, to kill a base at the very least, and ideally do even more than that. +1 melee is about to finish up here for RagnaroK. He doesn't want to engage before that. But once it does finish, he can absolutely try to punish these Stalkers, especially if they fight here. Especially if they get into a prolonged fight with these Queens.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And the Lings are trying to get on top of this. +1 melee is still not quite done. The Adepts are actually doing a lot to support these Stalkers, more than I thought they otherwise would. But we still have a lot of Lings on the way.
Yeah, these Glaveless Adepts actually do a pretty good job of zoning away the Lings. They finally go down, though. And that will allow RagnaroK to get right on top of the Stalker army, if need be.
And there we go, he does reinforce from across the map as well. He's breaking on through, he's getting on top of some of these Ravagers. The Ling count is getting lower and lower. We do have Roach Ravager that's going to be replacing it, but again, those are going to be more expensive losses for RagnaroK.
Yeah, very expensive losses, and units that are quite a bit easier to kite with Stalkers compared to those +1 Lings.
Yeah, exactly. Now the Queens are falling, the Roaches are falling as well. The Blinks have just been too damn good. We barely lost any Stalkers this game. Look at the units lost.
No.
We've lost one Stalker. Only one.
One Stalker, now two Stalkers this entire time. GG is called. Classic takes that series 2-0, and we'll be moving on to the grand finals to face Beyond. Holy hell! I was gonna say, Lings are trickling in instead of fighting as a whole, but I don't think that would have mattered too much in the end. There, like 2 Stalkers and 1 Oracle.
Yeah,
those are the only 3 units that went down the entire game from Classic. His control was just impeccable towards the end. Oh well, and also those Adepts, I guess. But, nobody really cares about the Adepts. It's all about the Oracles and the Stalkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That control was just impeccable coming out from him.
Yeah, and this is what I mean when I say that Classic is just so aggressive in these EVPs. That was a 7-gate, 3-base all-in. Again, no Forge, no Robo behind it, no Prism, no Colossi, no tech. Classic wasn't looking further ahead because he didn't need to. It was all about that Blink Stalker micro. The Adepts had their role as well, to be fair. They were able to support the Stalkers while they could when they were dealing with those Lings, and we saw that he just traded so insanely efficiently. Ugh.
Oh yeah, that was pretty insane, If not for the fact that Hero is still very active, I would say that Classic probably has the best control out of all of the Protoss players, and throughout his entire career, it's always been up there. I do feel like there was always at least 1 or 2 other players that kind of overshadowed him in that regard, whether it was Hero or whether it was Parting, and at one point even Zest. At one point Zest had really insane control, but Classic has always been up there when it came to his micro. And he was one of those players who you could never really accuse of just building up a death ball and A moving across the map, because he was known to juggle really well. He was known to blink really well. He was even known to position his Archons and whatnot to maximize concaves and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like Classic, he's got his groove back. It took a while. It took a while to really come back when he did return from the military, but now he is looking in form. He is looking to contend against Hero as well for the best Protoss in the world. Did even 2-0 him today earlier in the bracket. Of course, it is only one series, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing more of Hero versus Classic, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing more of Classic on his rise to fame here. But this is another big reason as to why I'm like, why is Classic teamless? Because he's so insanely good right now. He's one of the best players in the world, and he completely demolished RagnaroK, and now he's going up against Beyond.